Alright mate, Slimy here, and welcome back to more Final Fantasy IV. Now it has been a extremely long while, and there's a bit of a reason for that. One was because, well, just a lot of stuff has happened. Like, whenever I actually recorded this, just to give some perspective, literally about a few days after I recorded this video, it was actually around the time that I started having problems with a wisdom tooth, and essentially I had to go to the dentist for it, and all it was is essentially it was just a wisdom tooth that just started moving. It was pushing against another tooth, and I've not had it out or anything, but it did actually calm down after that week. But there is kind of a little thing that I just have to quickly address right here. Is that boss fight. This is the Lord of Water, Cagnazzo. I believe I pronounced it right. It is an Italian name, and there is a 50% chance I have pronounced it correctly, and 50% chance I have accidentally swore in Italian. But yeah, it is from the Malabranch? Of Malabranch, or whatever, from Dante's Inferno. But essentially this guy here is actually weak to lightning whenever he's surging water around his feet. And what you've got to do is basically to break that water, you've got to actually hit him with lightning spells or like thunder magic or anything like that. And it basically prevents him from hitting, because otherwise you will be on the other end of a tsunami, and you kind of don't want to do that. But he does have another thing going on with him, is that after a while he'll actually tuck himself into his shell. And if I remember correctly, because I've not looked at the bestiary things that I usually pop up on the side of the dual screens, I don't know why I said it like that, is what's it called? I'm pretty sure when he does this here, he's actually weak to ice. So you just gotta hit him with a lot of ice magic. He can heal himself though, so you do have to watch out for that. But other than that, surprisingly, this guy isn't anywhere near as tough as I was expecting, especially after that last fight. But essentially I am kind of reconsidering something with the bestiary. I thought I was onto something, you know, whenever I was doing the actual setup for this series, but it ended up just being really unfun to do, so I might just skip doing it entirely and just do it as a regular playthrough without giving instructions on how to do literally everything. Still looks like Porin was crying there, but yeah, like I was saying, there has been a lot of things going on. So after I had my my wisdom tooth calm down, by the way, here's Sid. Low-key, I think he's one of the most underappreciated characters in the game, because I don't know, I just kind of vibe with him in a way. But I actually named me Happy Gast in the Minecraft survival world Sid, and then gave it the blue helmet and everything. But essentially what has happened, you know, with why I've been gone for so long on this series is because essentially my computer broke down shortly after my wisdom tooth, you know, stopped playing up, and it was my graphics card. So we spent a while trying to get a new graphics card and that. And then after I got that, I started doing a recording for another project that never really went anywhere. And then by the time I decided, oh, I'm going to sit down and start recording, you know, some Final Fantasy IV and that kind of stuff, I got a virus from me dad, and it spread to the entire family, and we all had it for about 3.5 weeks. By the time the 3.5 weeks were over, it was Christmas. Right? And obviously I couldn't be doing any recording then because family and that would be over. And then after I recovered from that, I had like ear problems for a little bit. And then after I recovered from that, I got conjunctivitis, which I'm currently still recovering from. So that's where I've been. But meanwhile, yeah, these two are gonna do something rash. And by that, I mean turn themselves to stone. Which means we've just lost 2 party members in quick succession. Which is not the first time that's happened in this game at this point. But essentially, although I might not have actually been, recording much in this thing, I really want to get back into me, what's it called? I want to get back into me drawing, I want to get back into me recording and stuff like that. I've been posting videos a lot more frequently recently. And essentially, that's why I've hopped back in on this. And the other reason why I'm actually considering not doing the bestiary is because the bestiary was the one thing that was kind of like making me reluctant to do this series, because even though it's a good idea, it just it doesn't add much, if that makes sense. Anyway, here's me man Golf Ball. I like calling him that. But essentially, at this point in time now, we've just got Sid to I almost said join our army, join our party. And so now we're actually down to these 4. And it is kind of a bit of a ragtag bunch in a way. But that is kind of how this game goes, really. I actually kind of enjoy that, to be honest. But it is kind of a jarring thing to get back to, just like start recording and all of a sudden 2 party members have turned themselves to stone and that, and now I've got to like narrate what's going on while also telling me life story. Essentially, recently, actually, and I say recently, this was around shortly after I recorded this video. I actually beat Final Fantasy II, and I have some thoughts on that game. It's definitely a game. That just caught me off guard then, that Sid saying, "Kane, you little maggot." I'm just imagining Soldier from Team Fortress going, "Maggots!" What's it called? Just imagine him yelling it like that. Yeah, so Kane's just basically saying, right, get us the crystal or you don't get your wife back, Cecil. But Cecil calls him a scumbag. I don't know why that's really funny, just seeing like in an old, what's it called, old like fantasy world, just calling someone a scumbag. That's really funny, that. But yeah, I have completed Final Fantasy II, and Final Fantasy II, like I said, it is definitely a game. I actually thought whenever I first heard about Final Fantasy II that I'd probably enjoy the gameplay of it, because I thought in a way it's kind of like EV training in Pokemon, where the more of a specific thing that you do, the more stronger that you get in it. So it's like, take for example, if you were finger, if you use, say, bows, your agility goes up, so you get faster. If you use, let's say, like just barehanded physical punches and that, your strength goes up. If you take a lot of damage, your defense goes up. And I thought that's actually a really cool system, that. But the way the game's handled is just... It suffers from a lot, really. It suffers from a mix of an old game running off of like old ideas, aka old games didn't want to tell you anything, and just the fact that the where to go and that, and the level curve was just a complete mess. It's like you've got your starting town that's like in the, I want to say it's in the middle of the map, but it's not quite. I think it's like middle left. And essentially, like the main characters are revived from like nearly being killed by an army and just stuff like that. And essentially, what happens then is after that, you join the Rebel Alliance. And yeah, I did specifically make it sound like Star Wars because, to be honest, that's what that game really tried to go for. I mean, the main villain's called the Emperor. But yeah, essentially with Final Fantasy II, there's if you go north so far, every single enemy that you run into, you start off like enemies that have got like 56 HP, like really easy stuff like that. But if you go further, you start running into enemies with like 200, 300 HP. It's like borderline mini bosses. But then if you go to the left, you start running into stuff with like 2000 HP. So it doesn't tell you where to go, and the only thing that you've got to do is like, I think you've got to like find Scott or something like that. But essentially, what they don't tell you is that when you look for Scott, he's in like the outskirts of the town, so you've got to walk outside of the town. And that's really jarring because in these games here, going outside the borders of the town just like puts you on the world map. I love doing that. I love how you can just like run up and stick your hand in a fire. I don't know why they did that. But yeah, essentially what happened with Final Fantasy II is it's a game that's like simultaneously it's really difficult but also really easy, and it depends. Like if you do zero grinding, the game is like quite tough. But if you do only about like 10 minutes of grinding, it just snowballs and all of a sudden the game is like way too easy. And that is, again, as a result of the weird like leveling system that they added into the game, because it's not like traditional character levels. It's like, take for example, Final Fantasy 1 has traditional character levels. Final Fantasy 2 has weapon levels and stat levels, in a way. Well, not quite stat levels, it has stats, but it has like weapon levels. And then Final Fantasy III has both character levels and job levels, and it isn't until this game does it go all the way back to having just regular levels. But yeah, we're actually in Troya now, and I think that is supposed to be like a reference to Troy of like, what is it, like Greek mythology? But we do actually find where Edward has went, and all this time where Cecil's been like climbing up a mountain and stuff like that and redeeming himself and going through a big character arc, Cecil's just kind of been, not Cecil, Edward's just kind of been kind of like in a coma or something, whereas our Final Fantasy IV is actually just the dreams of a comed Edward. Theories going around. Why are those theories like so popular anyway? It's one of the things that like makes me think of that one Ed and Eddie theory, where the theory is that like literally every single character is secretly dead, but they all died in different time periods. And that's why they say, oh, that's why Rolf's a shepherd, and that's why like Jimmy wears weird braces and stuff like that. And they said, oh, like Eddie's from the Great Depression or something along the lines and all that. But I think in reality, Ed and Eddie is just a show with a bunch of random characters that are just all different because, you know, that's interesting. Also, it's just a good show. I don't know why, I just randomly remembered that whenever I watched it when I was little, my brother used to really hate it for some reason, and I never found out why. But he used to say it was like one of the worst shows he'd ever seen. Also, yeah, you gotta be honest there. Also, just the shape of this little thingy here, just I've got to be honest and immediately start like raiding the wine cellars. But yeah, that upper room reminds me of like the Mario mushroom, and it just like really stood out to me. I don't know why, but it just like that was just like my first thought. So after just telling that woman, oh, we won't like raid your entire building and that, we went in and raided the entire building. Wait, did that say like the clerics are like convening or commoning? I think like witches. Well, actually, now that I think about it, that kind of like makes sense in a way, because this place is like ran entirely by women. And these are all, I think in the DS games, they were called epics or something. And I know one of them actually gets playable in the sequel to this game. But they're actually telling us about the magnetic cave to the north, which, as you can probably tell, is going to be our next destination. And the dark elf has, in fact, yoinked the crystal. And we kind of need that crystal to give to Kane so we can get Rosa back, but yeah, so now we've got to like beat up an elf. I don't know why they're just like saying now we've got to go off to beat up an elf. That's really funny, that. And I don't know why. I don't know, I think elf is just like one of the words that's like inherently slightly funny. I don't know why, but like, what was I searching for it? I think I was searching for something, but just like couldn't remember what I was looking for. But yeah, you can see like you've got remnants of the bestiary stuff here, because I decided, oh, I'm gonna fight some enemies, you know, to show off in the video, and I thought, you know what, that's kind of like boring in a way. I'll have a Dave 2, and a not Dave. Dave will be a knight. Dave 2 will be a black belt. And not Dave will be a white mage. And then I'll have like, the black mage will be called something really stupid like Legless Jeff. And as a result in my Final Fantasy 3 playthrough, now like my main guy who does everything is called Legless Jeff. But anyway, we can't just like fly over to the Lodestone Cabin. We've actually got to get the Black Chocobo and fly over there, which is a very specific thing that they did here. But it is interesting because these things, if I remember correctly, can only land in the forests. But you can go anywhere as long as there's, you know, like a forest to land in. That's kind of really weird that we can get this like directly after we get the airship, because like this kind of does what the airship does, but just like worse. I don't know why I decided to like circle the entire island, but we'll be landing here, and the most micro spoiler of whatever, but walking here, immediately get pulled down to the ground by insane magnetic fields. And essentially what this game tells you is that metal weapons don't work here, so you got to swap to stuff that's either like elemental weapons or wooden weapons, or just like, say for example, use Yang's bare fists, or well, actually claws work, either the claws or use Teller's magic. But whenever I say there is a tiny bit of a spoiler here, I actually just like encounter like one or two enemies and decide, ooh, that's a bit too powerful for right now, we've not even healed properly, and then I immediately like nope the hell out. of the entire dungeon. Also, I gotta say, it's like 2 in the morning. It is boiling in this house, and it's just like kind of really uncomfortable. Oh, I just looked at these guys, and my first thought was like, you know what else is really uncomfortable? What's it called? These guys just like make me think of Muscle Man from Regular Show. I mean, look, they've got the green skin, they've got the same haircut. They really do just look like Muscle Man. But yeah, we are really not doing a lot of damage here. And that's because we have literally just had all our best weapons removed. And we have to use a bow with Cecil, which is just not great, is it? Yeah, it's really not great. So, we might reconsider our actions, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to set up a tent here, take a little nap, and then next time we'll actually be tackling the Lodestone Cave. I was going to say we didn't really do much this time, but I just remembered we fought a boss fight and kind of wrecked the guy here. So if you like what stupid stuff happened in this video, don't forget to comment, like, rate and subscribe, and I will be seeing you guys next time. Bye!